Okay, so this problem deals with the point of no return. And I'm going to read you the problem here, and then we will walk through on how to set up and solve this problem. It says a plane is flying 3,458 miles from New York City to London. It has a 50-mile-per-hour tailwind. The flight's point of no return is the point at which the flight time required to return to New York is the same as the time required to continue to London. If the speed of the plane in still air is 360 miles per hour, how far is New York from the point of no return? Okay, so we know that it has a 50-mile-an-hour tailwind. Okay. We also know here that we are dealing with a motion problem. Distance equals rate times time. Okay. We know that currently its rate in still air is 360 miles per hour. Okay, and here's where it gets tricky because you have all of this information, but it's really hard for us to try and think about, but, for example, you might try and just find the time first. Like, how long would it take to go from New York to London? And then you could figure out with a headwind of 50, what would that mean going from London to New York? You can try all of these different things, but try and think about it in very simple terms. Okay, what the problem is asking for is we have some point up here, a point of no return. We don't know exactly where that is. That's what we're trying to find out. We also know that if we were to solve the motion problem or the motion equation up here for time, that it would be that time is equal to some distance traveled divided by the rate at which it is traveled. Okay? So the way that I'm going to set this up is this. If you think about the leaving from New York, and we're going to start flying. Okay, so here we have distance over. Now I'm going to write 410 because remember it has a tailwind and that means it's being pushed. The wind is helping it to move faster. Okay, so that's leaving New York. Now the time portion is equal if, the time that it takes for it to leave New York and turn around and go back would be the same as if it went all the way to London. Okay, meaning that the times would be equal. So the distance, so this is kind of like leaving New York here, leaving New York. Plus, now if I take that same distance and let's pretend I turn around and I go back. So, but now I have a headwind and that means I go slower. Okay. So it's saying that this time is equal to the same as traveling the full way and the full time with the tailwind of 410 miles per hour. Okay, so this is how you want to go ahead and set up your problem. Once you get it to this point, we can now work on solving. So this would be leaving New York. This part, just to clarify again, was turning around or turning back. And to clarify again, this was the time to go all the way to London. Okay, so to clarify again, this time is equal to this time. So that's how I think about setting it up. All right, now we can go ahead and solve this. So if we, add a new. So if we go ahead and take distance over 410 plus our distance over 310 is equal to the miles all over the 410 because of that tailwind. Okay, and the way that I set this up, and you can do it however you want, but the way that I set it up was like this. I just kind of swapped things around. So I moved this over here, and I moved this on this side. Just because the denominators were there, and it made it a little bit easier for me to work with. So I'm going to say d over 410. Because those denominators are the same, I can write that. Okay. And then, of course, over here I have a negative because I moved it. Okay, now we remember how to clear fractions. So if I multiply both sides by 410 and both sides by 310, everything goes away. Okay, so we multiply that out. And what you're left with is a linear equation that looks like this. So I have 310 times d minus 3458 is equal to a minus 410d. And then we can go ahead and we can work all this out. So we have 310d minus, now you get a big number here, 1071980. And then you can kind of see what we need to do next. We're going to move this over, so I'll add here that to each side, and I'm going to add the 410 to each side. Okay, 107, 1980. Oops. 410. Okay, and then what we are left with is 720d equals then the 1071980. Divide both sides by 720, and then we get a distance out of that. That is about 1,489 miles. Okay, and that is your answer. Complicated problem, but try and go back and just think very simply about what it is that you're doing. We're trying to equate time. So that's about it for this one, and I look forward to helping you with more.